Welcome back, I'm George, and in this video I'm going to show you the first things you need to do on your new Samsung Galaxy Watch 8, Watch 8 Classic, or Galaxy Watch Ultra. I have customization settings, I have improvements for your user experience, and of course I have lots of interesting features that are disabled by default, and that make your new watch feel and be 10 times better. Now, that being said, and without further ado, I have to start by saying that most of the things we are going to do in this video can be done through the watch, but I am going to do them through the Wear app on my Galaxy phone because that is essentially a much easier process because the phone has a much bigger display. Now, the first thing you need to do on your new Galaxy Watch 8 is to come to the watch settings, swipe down to buttons and gestures, and customize your double press and long press. Because, as you can see, the Galaxy Watch 8 has two buttons on the side that can be customizable to do various things. In this case, if we tap on double press, we have the option to open a specific app on the watch by double pressing the side button, but we can also perform certain actions like activating the water lock, which essentially makes the watch vibrate to get rid of the water after you submerge the watch, or you can also automatically start a workout by tapping on this button right here. Now, just as a demonstration, I'm going to select the calculator. There we go. So essentially, every time that I double press, the watch is automatically going to open the calculator. Now, a little bit below, we have the long press, which essentially works the same way, although in this case, we only have the option to activate the digital assistant, or the Samsung digital assistant, or the power off menu. In this case, by default, I have the digital assistant. So if I long press, automatically we should open Gemini, which is the advanced Google Assistant. It is actually really nice to have this on the watch. Now, a little bit below, we also have some gesture options. In this case, we have, first of all, very impressive, the double pinch, which essentially, as you can see right here, lets you perform certain actions by pinching with your two fingers. As you can see here, I can double pinch to open up my widgets, and then I can double pinch again to swipe between those widgets. And well, also, if I am on the apps page, I can double pinch to scroll between the apps. So in this case, I'm pretty sure there's more actions around the watch, but you get the idea. It essentially helps you navigate without having to tap on the display, which can be really nice if you have dirty fingers. A little bit below, we have the shake option, which essentially, as you can see in the video, lets you perform an action by rotating your wrist, just like this. And last but not least, although this one is a little bit hit or miss based on what I've heard, we have knock knock, which, as you can see in the video, lets you perform an action by knocking twice on your desk. If you turn it on, you'll see that you have options down below, like opening your exercises, your recent apps, your stopwatch, flashlight. In fact, I think I'm going to try the flashlight to see how it works. In theory, if I knock twice on the table, it should turn on my flashlight, although I'm not sure if it's the flashlight on my phone or the flashlight on the watch. Let's check. That's what I said. It's a little hit or miss. In this case, it's not turning on any flashlight. Okay. Now, moving on, another one of the first things you need to do with your Watch 8 is to come back here to the main watch settings page, then swipe down to General, and then swipe down to Orientation, because, of course, some people are going to wear the watch on their left hand, some other people on their right hand, and you want the watch layout to reflect the hand you wear the watch on. In fact, you were actually seeing it before. I was wearing the watch on the wrong hand and everything was reversed. I actually had to flip the video in post. But anyways, that being said, and before we continue, I actually have something for you watching this video. Okay, so a lot of you know me from this channel, whether it is in front of the camera or back there in the top-down shot. But right now, I'm actually building a new channel that's a little bit more ambitious, where I will be needing some extra help. More specifically, I'm looking for a co-host to be in front of the camera with me, and I'm looking for a videographer to shoot the videos. So if by any chance you're interested in being a co-host on a YouTube channel, or you are a videographer, send me an email to this address so we can talk. But anyways, that being said, let's come back to the video. There is a lot more Watch 8 to cover. In this case, I want you to come to the main Watch app for the Watch 8 and then tap right here on Watch Faces. As you can see, this is going to represent what you can also see on the watch right here. So the row of apps you have installed on the watch, although in this case we have a much bigger, better layout to organize apps as you please. You can, as you can see, select and move apps anywhere you want, and you can also tap, hold, and place apps on top of each other to create folders. In this case, as general advice, I suggest you place your most used apps at the top and then the apps you barely use at the bottom. This is going to make for a faster user experience. But anyways, that being said, let's momentarily come here to the Watch 8 because I want to show you some quick settings. If we swipe from the top, just like this, we will access a row very similar to your control center on your Galaxy phone, where you can perform quick actions like turning on the flashlight, the Wi-Fi, sound, and many more things. In this case, on the last row of icons, we have an option called GPS, which I'm not sure if it comes turned on by default, but I heavily suggest you turn it on because it is essentially going to let you locate your watch, properly connect it to the phone, and access many useful features like calorie and step tracking. Now, another very cool feature here on the quick settings is this one right here, the one with a magnifying glass. As you can see, once we tap it, it is going to play a sound on your phone okay, it's pretty loud. I'm not sure if you're picking up the sound with my microphone, but it's pretty ringy. It essentially helps you locate your phone if you ever lose it. And we'll also here on the quick settings on the first row, we have this watch icon, which lets you enable or disable the always on display. So essentially, if you turn it off and you turn off the watch, let's turn off the watch, please. Okay, there we go. The display is essentially going to turn off completely, but if you turn on the always on display, I have to turn off the battery saving mode. There we go. If you turn on the always on display and you turn the watch off, it is essentially not going to turn off. It is going to dim the brightness, but it's still going to show content. Now, that being said, and back here on the quick settings page, I actually want to talk about the icon that I accidentally pressed on before. This right here is the battery saving mode or power saving mode, which essentially is going to help you save more battery life. In this case, it is going to turn off certain features like the always on display that we turned on before, trying to save as much battery life. So if you are not happy with how long your battery lasts on the watch, you can turn on the battery saving mode. Now, another tip to save more battery life is to swipe right here to the Wi-Fi icon and turning it off, because the Wi-Fi being turned on doesn't really do that much unless you have to download stuff into the watch or download a specific app, but it burns a significant amount of battery life. And well, if you really want to save as much battery life as possible, you can also tap right here on watch settings, then tap on notifications, app notifications, and then disable all the apps you don't really want to send notifications to the watch. Now, mind you, every single app that sends notifications is going to burn a lot of battery life because it has to always be connected to the phone, so to say. So the least amount of apps you have right here, the better. Ideally, you just want to connect your messaging apps, maybe Spotify, and then the workouts app so you can sync your calories and steps and stuff like that. But everything else, I'm not sure you need to have turned on the watch. Believe me, this is going to save a lot of battery life. Now, moving on, once again here on the main Apple Watch app, I suggest you tap on Find My Watch and set it up. In this case, with Samsung Find, which lets you locate every Samsung device you have. Let's tap right here on Continue, Continue, and Turn On. We can select if we want to get a notification when people check our location. Let's tap on Every Time. As you can see, just like that. In this case, I think I'm going to have to blur the whole screen or almost everything because this is my address, so I have to blur everything. But I essentially have my devices and where they are located on the map. Additionally, if I needed to ring one of these devices, I could also do it. So let's ring the Watch 8. There we go. It is going to play a sound, although I'm not sure you can hear it. And well, needless to say, this is a very useful tool for when you lose or you get... And well, needless to say, this is a very useful tool for when you lose your device or for when it gets stolen, which could also happen. Now, that being said, let's move on to one of the most important segments in this video. Let's customize the watch faces on the Samsung Watch. Now, as you can see, by default, we get our default watch faces here at the top. In this case, I think it only comes with this one by default. But if we start swiping, we will see that there is a very long list of additional watch faces we can add to the watch. And in this case, there's no limit. You could potentially add every single one of them. So just as a demo, I'm going to add, let's say, this one right here. I believe this one looks pretty cool and it has some very nice complications. Automatically, as you can see, it gets added to the watch, so I can start using it right away. But I can also tap right here on the blue icon and edit this watch face with different colors and styles, or even complications. So we could essentially have no complications. We could have two right here, which we can, of course, tap and select which complication we want. And we can also, let me swipe back, select a different style of complication, which we can also tap and customize to add anything we want. Now, every single watch face is going to have a specific set of customization options. As you can see in this case, we have some pre-made defaults. We have clock type, color, complication type, the complication 1 and complication 2. That is for this one specifically. But if we select a different one, like this one right here, which has a little bit less options, as you'll see when we tap on customize, there is only going to be some pre-made options, color, and the complication, which, oh, that's interesting. We could add a complication right there in the middle. Now, if we swipe all the way to the top again, we can, of course, select our different complications. By tapping on it, it automatically changes on the watch. But of course, we can also tap and hold on the watch and select the different complications without having to access the phone, which of course is what you'll do in this case. It is a lot more convenient. Now, once again, here on the main Apple Watch page, if we swipe to the left on the watch, we will be able to access the tiles, which in this case are a series of widgets, which, as you can see, stack on top of each other like this, and that display useful information so you don't have to access the apps and tap on the apps. It makes your navigation a lot faster. Now, to customize your tiles, you have to tap right here on the watch app where it says tiles, and automatically you'll see what you could see on the watch. You have this page right here. I think by default it comes with 3 pages, but you can, of course, delete every page you have by tapping on Manage Tiles. And you can also swipe to the right and add another tile page. In this case, as you can see, we have a list of apps that can display tiles. Let's, for example, add a calculator page. Let's add a battery page. And let's add a Buds controller. There we go. We have now created another tiles page. Now, that being said, if you are going to use the Watch 8 to train, I heavily suggest you include these widgets right here. In this case, we have the fitness widget, we have a calorie tracker, and we have a step tracker. I think this is all you need to check and manage your fitness. Now, that being said, you have probably noticed right here on the fitness widget, we have some default options. In this case, we have walking, running, biking, and more. This, of course, could luckily be the workouts you currently do, but if that's not the case and you do other sports, there is actually a way to change the workouts that show up right here on the widget. For that, we actually have to swipe out of the Watch app on our phone and essentially access a different app, which in this case is going to be Samsung Health. Right here, we can swipe down to workouts. There we go. As you can see, we have the same walking, running, and biking we had on the watch. But if we tap on more, we can, of course, customize the ones that show up. As you can see, the reason they show up is because they are favorited. So we can delete these favorites, and we can choose between a very big range of workouts and favorite the ones we currently do, like pool swimming, hiking, or the treadmill. Now, that being said, these are, of course, not all of the potential workouts you may do. There's other sports that don't show up here. So what you can do is you can tap on the plus icon right here and create a custom exercise by tapping on Create New Exercise. Then name it anything you want, like boxing. And then you can set the durations, the calories burned, and the category, and automatically create that new type of sport. There we go, you can add it to your favorites. Now this is of course really great, but for some people who are very specific in what they do, like lifting weights and doing very specific sets of exercises, this may be a little too generic. Now for those people, there is the option to create workout routines. For that, you have to tap right here on the plus icon, then tap on Create Workout Routine, and automatically create a specific set of things you are going to do during your workout. So let's add an exercise. In this case, there is a very wide range, like we can tap on free weights and tap on arm curls. There we go. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Then we are going to do, say, let's tap on free weights again, deadlifts. There we go. And we can essentially create a full-on specific step-by-step, thing-by-thing workout that is, of course, going to give you way more specific data. As you can see, you can also add a warm-up, even selecting the specific amount of time it's going to take. And you can even select breaks between the exercises. So in this case, we can either set a time for the break, like a minute, 2 minutes, or we can tap on none. And automatically, we are not going to have any breaks. We are going to jump from one to the other. Once you're finished and you've included all of your exercises, you can tap on Save. Of course, in this case, it is called My Routine, but you can give it any name you want. And of course, you can also favorite that routine. So when you tap on the workouts widget, there we go, you'll see pool swimming, hiking, and your specific routine. But anyways, that being said, also here on the Samsung Health app, there is an option you need to activate because it is going to give you very interesting data about your sleep. So let's swipe down to the sleep segment on the watch. There it is, right here. Close. Then let's tap on the 3 dots at the top right. Let's tap on Advanced Measurements. And then let's activate snore detection. Well, let's activate every single option if it's not by default. In this case, as you can see, the watch is able to detect your blood oxygen levels, your snores if you do snore, and your skin temperature during sleep. All of these things are going to give you very interesting data about your health. In fact, very many people do actually snore and have sort of like a mild apnea when they sleep, which affects the amount of oxygen they get and affects their performance or capacities the next day. If you sometimes feel like you always wake up tired and without energy, you may be snoring at night, you may not be getting enough oxygen, and it is nice to know. Now that being said, let's swipe out of the Health app and come back to the main Watch app on the phone. Then tap on the settings. Then let's swipe down to Manage Content. There we go. And then let's tap right here on Tracks on Watch. If you have any music on your phone, you can essentially add that music to the watch. So you have to tap right here on plus, and then essentially add your songs, albums, or artists to this list, and they will be available offline with the watch. Now, it is very likely that you don't use your music app on the phone. You probably use Spotify or Apple Music. So for those specific apps, what you actually have to do is you have to swipe to the specific app you use on the watch, like Spotify. Then you have to tap on a specific playlist or artist, and then you'll see this button right here, which will essentially let you download that entire artist or playlist to your watch. So you can play that music without having access to the phone or to the internet. And well, that being said, I have saved the best for last. I am going to show you one of the coolest things you can do on the Watch 8. For this, in fact, you actually have to use the watch. You cannot do this through the phone. So let's swipe down to the settings page on the watch, which I think in my case, it's on a folder that I set up earlier. There we go. Then let's swipe all the way down to About Watch. Then we have to swipe down to Software Information. There we go. And then we have to tap 8 times on Software Version. As you can see, automatically it is going to say that the developer options have been enabled. So let's swipe down to the main settings page, and you'll see that there is a new row all the way at the bottom called Developer Options. Now, these essentially is a very long list of options that are technically for developers, but that essentially add a lot of customization and options to the watch. So I believe you should turn it on, and we'll try seeing what's here. Although, in this case, I'm going to show you some very specific settings. Window animation scale, transition animation scale, and animator duration scale. These 3 options essentially control the speed at which the watch moves. In this case, they are all set to 1x, so the watch is going to move normally, but we could also select 0.5, essentially making the watch double its speed. Let's tap on 0.5, 0.5, and 0.5, and you'll see that everything essentially moves way faster than it did before. Like the animations of opening and closing, of swiping, everything is going to feel a lot faster. Now, this is an option that is not enabled by default and shown to everybody because it only makes sense on top-tier devices like your Galaxy S25 or your Galaxy Fold 7, or in this case, your latest Apple Watch 8. If you have an older device, this is going to probably cause some issues. But if you have the Watch 8, which is the latest and greatest, you can turn it on, essentially make the watch feel faster without any additional issues. Now, of course, you can always come back here, or I'm sorry, there we go, here to the developer options and turn these off, or we'll revert them back to normal to 1x. Or if you feel playful, you can always select 10x, making everything super slow. This is one of the best pranks if you want to play with one of your friends or your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. But anyways, that being said, I think that is all the things you need to do to properly get going with the new Watch 8, Watch 8 Classic, or new Galaxy Watch Ultra. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions regarding anything that I said, please tell me down below in the comments. And if not, I hope you have an amazing rest of the day, and I hope to see you again very soon. Peace.